Welcome to Dancing with the Goddess and our Goddess of the Month. Each month, we work with a different goddess to connect to her and attune to her energies. We work with the lunar cycles to connect to, align with, and embody the goddess's qualities. Then we integrate those into our lives and reflect on what we've learned. Join us as I introduce you to this month's goddess. Welcome to this new moon. That means there's a new goddess of the month. The goddess for this lunar cycle from October 17th through November 14th is the goddess Hecate. This episode is to share with you some information about Hecate. If you would like to dive deeper, connect more fully with her, attune and align your energies with her and her qualities, I invite you to join me in my Dancing with the Goddess Sisterhood. In our membership, we will be going deeper into connecting with Hecate, embodying her qualities, integrating those qualities, learning what she has to show us, and then letting her show us what we need to release. There will be a full moon ceremony and circle where we're working with Hecate, and the full moon is right near Halloween, so we'll be working with some of that energy as well. I invite you to join us in our sisterhood community. I call to invite and welcome the goddess Hecate to be here, to guide my words, to speak through me. And she is here. So Hecate, or some people call her Hecate. You see two different spellings, Hecate or Hekate. So it's Hecate or Hecate, whichever one. She's always come to me as Hecate. Many people see her as a Greek goddess. But in my working with her, and I've been working with her for nearly 30 years, in my working with her and my understanding of her, and your understanding may be different because she shows us what we need to know. So my understanding of her is she's much, much older than the Greeks. Even in the Greek teachings of her, we know that she is considered pre-Olympian. She's not part of the Olympian gods. Some call her a Titan, which are the pre-classical Olympian gods of Zeus and Hades and Persephone and Demeter. And she was considered an extremely powerful goddess. Zeus destroyed all the Titans, except for Hecate. He could not eliminate her. I don't connect a whole lot with the Greek pantheon and the Greek mythologies, mainly because I see in those stories, especially all of the stories where the gods are raping the goddesses. That's very symbolic of patriarchy overtaking the matriarchy, of the male gods coming into power over the feminine divine. One of the goddesses that was not raped within the Greek mythologies was Hecate. In fact, Zeus revered her and honored her, and she was the only Titan and the only goddess that he did that. She is said to be the goddess of the heavens, the earth, and the sea. So she is the goddess of everything. You have other goddesses that are called the Queen of Heaven. Hecate, not only the goddess of everything, everything includes the underworld. She is also a queen of the underworld. And we'll go more into that in just a second. And I'm getting chills as I'm talking, so I know Hecate is here and guiding me on what she wants me to speak about. One of the first places that we have records of Hecate is not Greece. It is actually Thrace, which is an area that encompassed Bulgaria, Greece, and Turkey. In fact, the only temple that has been recovered solely dedicated to Hecate is in Lagina, Turkey. There's also records that show that in many of the temples dedicated to specific deities, there was a space for an altar dedicated to Hecate. In Apollo's temple or Athena's temple, you would also find a space, an altar dedicated to Hecate, which shows I am much older and much more powerful than many give me credit for. There's a reason why Zeus was afraid of me, because I hold the keys to life and death. Okay. Like I said, she's here. And one of my gifts is to channel the goddess. In these older stories of Hecate, her parentage is Gaia, the earth, and Uranus, the sky. One of the things that she's shown me is she's not Greek, she's not Titan. One of the things that she has shown me is that she is a primordial goddess and an emanation and an avatar of this earth. That is why she is the goddess of everything. She helps us connect with the earth, but she's also the goddess of liminal spaces, those gateways, those places of in between. So she can help us be in this world. We are in a physical world for a reason. Otherwise, we would have stayed in our non-physical state. We're in a physical body for a reason. We're in 3D for a reason. She helps us be in this 3D environment. She helps us be on this physical world in these physical bodies. But she also helps us dance between the physicality and the non-physical, the spiritual. She's one that can help us dance between the pillars. That's why she's on thresholds, on gateways, because she helps us move between the realms. She helps us move between our ordinary life and our extraordinary, magical, mystical life. And I did have an outline of how I wanted to go through this And she's like, nah. And with Hecate, she's a yes, ma'am, goddess. She's not a nice, gentle, oh, you can do whatever you want, honey. No, Hecate is one that if you need it, she'll give you a slap upside the head, tell you to get moving, tell you to get your head back on straight. Hecate is often depicted as a triple goddess. And an exciting archaeological find just this last August of 2023, they found in Kalindaris in southern Turkey. They were doing some archaeological digs this last August, and they found a mostly intact figurine of Hecate. And if you're watching the video, here's a picture of it. If you're just listening to the audio of this, I'm going to do a write-up on Hecate on my blog, and I'll include a picture of the figurine that they found in the blog post. Or you can see it in our sisterhood. And in this figurine is this triple goddess. And many in the Wiccan community, witch community, equate Hecate, because we see this as a triple goddess, that she's a maiden mother crone goddess. However, when you look at the frescoes and this figurine and the other things of her, she's been triplicated in order to face 3 directions at once. And each of the faces is the same, which makes me question that belief that she's a maiden mother crone goddess. Yes, she is a triple goddess, and she is linked to the moon and the phases of the moon. But I'm not sure she's can be connected to that maiden mother crone. If you connect with her that way, that's the way she wants you to connect with her. Trust your intuition, trust what you see. Because the goddess, not just Hecate, all the goddesses show themselves to you in the way that you need to see them. If Hecate is coming to you as a triple goddess, that's the way she shows up for you. She doesn't necessarily do that for me. I've never seen her as a maiden. When I've gone into meditation with her, I never ever see her as a maiden. I see her more as that older, what we would call middle-aged woman. Sometimes as a crone, sometimes as an old woman, but more often as more of like the 50, 60 age woman in today's society. And one of the strange things about Hecate and what we know of her, even though the Greek poet has said, and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, waxed prolific about talking about Hecate and honoring her. Yeah, the Greek poet Hesiod wrote extensively about Hecate, and in his Theogony, he proclaims Hecate as whom she greatly aids and advances. She sits by worshipful kings in judgment and in the assembly, whom her will is distinguished among the people. When men arm themselves for the battle that destroys men, then the goddess is at hand to give victory and grant glory readily to whom she will. Good is she also when men contend at the games, for there too the goddess is with them and profits them. And she is good to stand by horsemen whom she will, and those to whose business is in the gray, discomfortable sea, and who prayed to Hecate and the loud, crashing earthshaker, which was also known as Poseidon. Easily, the glorious goddess gives great catch, and she easily takes it away as soon as it is seen, if she so wills. And he also said this about Zeus. Zeus gave her splendid gifts to have a share of the earth and the unfruitful sea. She received honor also in starry heaven, and is honored exceedingly by the deathless gods. The son of Kronos, Zeus, did her no wrong, nor took anything away at all that was her portion among the former Titan gods. But she holds, as the division was at the first from the beginning, privilege both in earth and in heaven and in sea. Even though we have Hesiod talking about her, there are no mythological stories about her. The only one that we see and where we know for sure is in the story of Demeter and Persephone. When Persephone goes to the underworld, Hecate is the one who finally relents and tells Demeter where her daughter Persephone has disappeared to. In that story, it's shown that Hades is the god of the underworld. Well, Hecate has the key to the underworld. She's known to have keys. One of those keys is to the underworld. What does that make her? I think that makes her the ruler over the underworld if she has the keys to it. Perhaps there's more to this story of Persephone and Hades than what is commonly shown. When we talk about Persephone, I'll talk more about Persephone and her choices when we do Persephone as a goddess of the month, probably in the spring since she's a spring goddess. That's the only story that we have of Hecate in all of the Greek mythologies. Personally, this is patriarchy at it again, of trying to make powerful women, powerful goddesses disappear from history. But even with that, with only that one mythology story of Hecate, she is still revered. She is still honored. She is still known today. Because no matter what the patriarchy does, it cannot rid the world of the feminine divine. We need the feminine divine, and we need it to be in balance with the masculine divine. When you have that imbalance, look around the world and see what that has caused. We talked a little bit earlier about her being a liminal goddess. What does liminal mean? Liminal is, according to the dictionary, it is relating to a sensory threshold, barely perceptible, relating to or being in an intermediate state, phase, or condition, in between, transitional. It's that transitional state of between life and death. As a liminal goddess in ancient Greece and in the ancient world, not just Greece, we've seen it in Anatolia, Turkey, all of the Mediterranean. Hecate was honored and revered. you see these triple goddesses, Hecatarian. Not sure I'm pronouncing that word right. These 3 triple goddess figurines at household thresholds, because you're going through a portal when you go through a threshold. So the ancients put Hecate as that guard right on that threshold, not only in their homes, in temples. Not just Hecate's temple, all temples. And at city gates. Any place that there was a gate, a threshold, a liminal space where you went between, you would find an image of Hecate. Part of their purpose was not only she was the goddess of those liminal spaces and had power over them, she had the keys to pass through portals. She had the keys to the underworld to pass through those safely. She was also a protector, and she protected people from the spirits, from the ghosts. This is why she is connected to Halloween or Samhain. Samhain is that time period where the veil is thin. We now have the Celtic word Samhain to call that, but the ancients all over the world know this time period, this changing from autumn equinox into winter was a time when the veil, the boundaries that separate the physical from the non-physical is very thin, and it's very easy for those spirits to pass through, whether they're malevolent or benevolent. She was that guardian of those spirits. Some say that when she is around, gathering those spirits to her, you can hear dogs barking, and dogs are sacred to her. Another clue that we have that she is the ruler of the underworld. She's the ultimate ruler. You have Hades and Persephone as the king, queen of the underworld. They rule at her discretion. That's what I'm hearing from her saying. They rule at her discretion. And one of the ways that we have this clue that she is very connected with the underworld is she's often depicted with a 3-headed dog. 3-headed dogs are Cerberus. They are the hellhounds. They are the dogs of the underworld. If she didn't have this connection with the underworld, she would not have a Cerberus sitting at her feet, serving her. Something to think about. And in the ancient world, because she was Goddess of Crossroads, which is another portal, another gateway, people would leave food offerings at these crossroads. They'd also leave food offerings at night for her and the spirits and her sacred dogs. Some of the foods that were left as an offering were breads or pastries in a crescent shape, because she is connected with the moon. Honey, fish. There was a special fish dish that they would make. Eggs, onions, probably garlic, since she is connected with the underworld, more your root vegetables than the flowering ones would be good to offer to her. Flowers, think about night blooming flowers, are sacred to her. Her qualities, her magic. We've already talked about crossroads and liminal spaces. Part of the crossroads is not just literal crossroads like an intersection, but the crossroads of our lives. She is the goddess of choice. She helps us make the right choices for us. And because she's also a goddess of the dark, sometimes we have to go through challenges to learn things about ourselves. And when we're having that challenge, we can be connecting with Hecate to move through that more quickly, to learn those lessons. She is the goddess of the dark. And that dark is the underworld. Part of that underworld is going deep inside of us. Most often when we meditate, we close our eyes. We go into the dark. We go into our dark cave. Where I most often see Hecate when in my meditations is in a cave. I rarely see her in a forest. In how most people depict her is in a forest with roads. I most often, in my meditations, she comes to me and shows me in a cave. Because of that association with the dark, of going within. She is that goddess of the dark feminine energy. She's been called a dark goddess. And dark goddesses aren't evil. There's more to the dark than evil. They're not bad. The dark is feminine energy, which is why it's been labeled by the patriarchy as being evil and bad. And the light, which is masculine energy, has been labeled good and positive. So she's the goddess of the dark, of awareness, of being aware of who we are, of coming to an awareness of who we are, our soul purpose. We can work with Hecate to find our soul purpose, especially when we're in that crossroads. We're in that liminal place of we're moving from one stage of our life or one segment of our life to another segment. That's when Hecate can really help us in making those choices, of being aware of what our choices are. One of the things I've seen with her and worked with her in that triple and having a triple crossroads is this place of choice. When we only have two choices, we have either or. You only have two choices. You can do this one or you can do this one. They are mutually exclusive. Whereas when you have a third choice, you have those three paths that you can choose from. You now have opportunity. It now opens from that duality of black, white, that third option, gray, which is and. Gray is black and white. So her standing at that crossroads with those three choices or more helps break the paradigm of either or mentality that we tend to fall into. Part of that is this world is a world of duality, so we think in dualities. Opening our minds with this idea of choices and having more than two choices helps us think outside the box. We've all heard that saying, think outside the box. That opens our limited thinking. Then we can say, what else can I do? Do I have to just do this or this? Do I need to only do one or the other? Or is there an option where I can merge them and do both? I've seen this in my life where am I only an author? Am I only a fantasy author? When I've tried doing that, I don't find much success in it because I've made that duality choice. So I've looked at, okay, I'm also being called to be this priestess, this modern mystic, this guide for women to help them through this magical, mystical world of the goddess. When I've only done that, I haven't had success. When I remember my lessons of Hecate, and she's like, yeah, it took you long enough. Yeah, it did. But when I remembered that lesson of Hecate of there is an end, there is the path of shadow, that path that is that balance between the light and the dark. I can be an author, a fantasy author, and I can be a modern mystic and a guide. And those two can merge. In my Sentinel Witches series, which is an urban fantasy that I'm working on, I have the first book done. It's Crossroads to Destiny. The main goddess in that story is Hecate. The two main characters, Catelyn and Shan, are being shown and are being brought to their destiny. They have those choices to remain in their mundane world or to step through that liminal space and become a sentinel witch. So I've been able to merge those two in my writing. And I also merged that in my teaching, in my Dancing with the Goddess. Part of my Dancing with the Goddess is being a book doula and helping women to write their stories and self-publish them. It's one of the reasons I went through that pathway and that journey is so that I can guide others on that journey. It's part of the reasons why I go through this journey of connecting with the goddesses, so I can be that guide for you as well. Hecate will guide us. She has that lantern in the dark of the night that will show us the pathway. But she isn't going to make our path easy. She will show us the right path for ourselves. There is a scene in Crossroads to Destiny in which Hecate comes to Catelyn in a vision of her being presented with choices and her presenting with which path does she want to take. The one that's right for her is not the rosy, easy path. It also isn't the struggle-filled path as well. It's one that has both of those in them. That is the path that Hecate guides us on. She holds her light, and it only shows a little. It's a lantern. It's not a flashlight or a torch. If we're out in a forest, it's not going to light up the whole forest. We're not going to see everything. We're just going to see what's in front of us right now. That's the type of thing that she shows us. What's right for us right now? What's our next step? That's where we can make those choices. And that's one of the ways that we can work with her. In tarot, the High Priestess card usually depicts the priestess between two pillars, one black, one white. And if you're watching the video, I will put up a picture of my favorite High Priestess card, and it's from the Gilded Tarot deck. Hecate is known as the Queen of Witches. She is one that witches work with quite frequently. Part of this is this liminal space. In that High Priestess card, the priestess is sitting in that liminal space. She is sitting in that gateway. She is that guide between realms. That's what a high priestess does, is helps people and guides people through those portals, through those gateways to make change in their lives. Hecate can help us do that anytime we want to go through those liminal spaces. Hecate can help us do that. She is the epitome of the High Priestess that is in this world, rules the earth. In the heavens, the spiritual, Hecate rules the heavens. And she rules the seas and the underworld. So I'm connecting with Hecate and asking if she has anything else that she would like me to share. Dear ones, dear ones, oh my daughters, you are in this pivotal place in this world. This world is in that place of change. You can see it all around you as that which once was, is dying and changing. It is time for you to step up into who you are. It is through the women that the changes will come through in a way that brings forth a new world. This ascension is not leaving this world. You need to stay in this world, stay in this physicality to make those changes. You changing yourself, you making those choices to be and remember who you are. That is how we change this world. That is how we bring forth the age of the daughter. Do not be afraid of the dark. Do not be afraid of your your femininity, of your feminine power. The dark is powerful. Our feminine energy is powerful. That is why the patriarchy has tried so hard to make you small, to make you afraid of the dark, to make you afraid of the feminine divine. But this is you. You are more than what you believe. You are the light. You are the dark and everything in between. Your strengths can be weaknesses, and your weaknesses can be strengths. It is when you walk in balance that you find how to accept these of yourself, to accept and acknowledge all of you. There is strength in what you call weakness. There is strength in what you call shadow. That is just aspects of yourself you haven't healed or you haven't acknowledged. They are as powerful as those that you see in the light. The strengths that you have acknowledged, those things you have healed. Learn to walk the path of balance. There is great love here for you. We are complete. One of the ways that I know that the goddess is speaking through me is I get this intense energy that is so powerful. The only way for it to manifest is through crying, which is why you were seeing me crying while I was doing that. And it's taken me a long time to accept this gift. And part of that was through working with Hecate, of working through working through a lot of my hidden aspects. I don't want to say dark aspects or shadow aspects. They were just hidden and unhealed aspects, which is one reason why I'm really excited to be working with her and with you this month. If you aren't already a member of our Dancing with the Goddess Sisterhood community, you can go to my website, dancingwiththegoddess.com/DWGS-membership to find all the information about how you can join us. I would love to have you there. I would love to connect deeper with Hecate, with you, and to share our experiences with working with Hecate. My sisterhood is a dogma-free zone. I know I don't have all the answers. My experience with Hecate is not the only way she shows up. My experience isn't the only Hecate or the only way to experience Hecate. I have a friend who also works deeply with Hecate, and the image that she sees is completely different than mine, and that's okay. In our sisterhood, we share our experiences with the goddess and our other mystical, magical experiences, our life experiences, so we can learn from each other. if we don't talk about our experiences and share them with others, then how are we supposed to learn? How are we supposed to change our perspectives? My perspectives change all the time. My beliefs change all the time as I learn more things. As an example, learning more about trans people has completely changed my perceptions and my beliefs about trans people, which is why trans women are welcome in my women's only spaces. I once was, I hate to admit it, but we do change. I once was in that women born only women camp, that only if you were biologically a woman with a uterus and all the other reproductive organs, that you are a woman. After listening to the science, listening to trans women, talking with trans women, that mentality, that belief, that conditioning has been totally shifted and changed. So we can do that. Part of that has been with my work with Hecate and with the other goddesses. Yes, it's feminine divine energy, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the physical body has to have boobs and a vagina and a womb. Sometimes we're born in the wrong body. I invite you to dance with Hecate with me and explore what keys to ourselves she is going to share with us. What new insights and inspiration about ourselves, about what we're capable of, what's hidden in our cave. And we are complete. May you dance with the goddess Hecate in the manner that is right for you. Blessings.